The zipper slid up her spine like a promise she never asked for. Camilla's breath caught, not from the dress but from the stranger's hands. Steady. Certain. Dangerous. In the mirror, dark eyes met hers and the world tilted. He didn't smile. Didn't speak. Just leaned close enough that she felt his words against her ear. Your groom's not coming, little wolf. I am. The church bells rang. Her heart stopped. And somewhere in the city, a man who thought he owned her made his last mistake. If you're ready for a love story built on obsession, power, and sacrifice, please like, share, and subscribe. Now let's begin. The Bridal Suite, 2 p.m. The bridal suite at the Grand Celestine Hotel smelled of roses, champagne, and expensive perfume. Camilla De Luca stood before the floor-length mirror, studying her reflection with a strange sense of detachment. The wedding dress was beautiful. Ivory lace with delicate beading that caught the afternoon light, a sweetheart neckline that her mother had insisted was elegant, a train that pooled behind her like spilled cream. She should have felt beautiful, excited, ready. Instead she felt hollow. Stop it, she whispered to herself. This is what you wanted. Stability. Security. A future. But the words tasted like lies. Marco Vitali was handsome, wealthy, charming. He'd swept into her life 6 months ago with expensive dinners, weekend trips to the coast, promises of a life she'd only dreamed about. Her father had been thrilled. Marco's family had connections, business opportunities, the kind of influence that could elevate the De Luca name. And Camilla had convinced herself that was enough. That the absence of butterflies didn't matter. That the way her stomach didn't flip when he kissed her was just maturity. Real love wasn't fireworks. It was partnership. Practicality. Right? She reached behind her back, fingers searching for the zipper. It sat just out of reach, the final barrier between her and walking down that aisle. Her sister Sophia was supposed to be here, but she'd run downstairs to handle some last-minute crisis with the flowers. Camilla stretched, fingertips brushing the metal pull. Almost. The door opened behind her. Sophia, thank God. I can't reach the... Turn around. The voice was male. Unfamiliar. Camilla's heart lurched into her throat. She spun, pressing her back against the mirror, one hand flying to her chest. A man stood in the doorway. And not just any man. He was tall, easily over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that filled out a black suit tailored to perfection. Dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Sharp cheekbones, a strong jaw shadowed with stubble, a mouth that looked like it rarely smiled. But it was his eyes that stopped her breath. Dark, almost black, and fixed on her with an intensity that made her feel like the air had been sucked from the room. Tattoos crept up from his collar. Intricate designs that disappeared beneath the expensive fabric. Who are you? Camilla's voice came out breathless. How did you get in here? He stepped inside. The door closed behind him with a soft click. Then he locked it. The sound echoed like a gunshot. You need to leave, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Right now. Or I'll scream. No, you won't. His voice was calm. Certain. He moved closer, each step measured and deliberate, like a predator approaching prey. If you scream, your guests will panic. Your father will have security swarm this room. And you'll never learn the truth about Marco Vitali. Her breath caught. What are you talking about? Your fiancé. He stopped a few feet away, hands sliding into his pockets. The movement should have been casual. Instead it felt dangerous. He's not coming to this wedding, Camilla. That's ridiculous. Marco is downstairs. I saw him an hour ago. You saw him leave. In a car. With 2 women who are definitely not part of the wedding party. The words hit her like ice water. You're lying. Am I? He tilted his head slightly, studying her. Your zipper. She blinked. What? You were reaching for your zipper when I came in. You need help. He gestured with one hand. Turn around. Every instinct in Camilla's body screamed at her to run. To call for help. To do anything except turn her back on this stranger who'd somehow bypassed hotel security and locked himself in a room with her. But something in his gaze held her frozen. Not violence. Not malice. Something else. Something that felt like recognition. Like he'd been waiting his entire life to stand in this room with her. Who are you? She whispered again. Turn around and I'll tell you. Her hands trembled. This was insane. Dangerous. He should be screaming. Instead she turned. For a long moment nothing happened. She could feel him behind her, close enough that the heat of his body warmed her bare shoulders. Her heart hammered so hard she thought it might crack her ribs. Then his fingers brushed her spine. Camilla gasped. The touch was gentle, surprisingly so, but it sent electricity racing through her nervous system. He found the zipper and she felt the whisper of fabric as he slowly, carefully pulled it up. "My name," he said quietly, "is Carlo Ferrante." Her knees nearly gave out. Everyone in the city knew that name. Don Carlo Ferrante. The man who controlled the docks, the unions, half the construction contracts in the state. The man whose word was law in certain circles, whose enemies disappeared without a trace, whose power was absolute and terrifying. The monster parents warned their children about. "Oh God." Her voice shook. "Oh my God, you're..." "Yes." The zipper reached the top. His fingers lingered for just a moment at the nape of her neck, and she felt his breath against her skin. "And you, Camilla De Luca, are not marrying Marco Vitali today." She whirled to face him, putting as much distance between them as the small space allowed. You don't get to decide your future?" Something flickered in those dark eyes. Almost like amusement. "No. You're right. I don't. But I can make sure you have all the information before you make a decision you'll regret for the rest of your life." He pulled a phone from his inside jacket pocket, swiped the screen, turned it toward her. Camilla's stomach dropped. Photos. Marco with a blonde woman, his hand on her thigh in what was clearly a restaurant booth. Marco kissing a brunette outside what looked like a hotel. Marco with his arm around a redhead, both of them laughing, her hand resting possessively on his chest. When, she couldn't breathe. When were these? The first one was taken 3 weeks ago. The last one was this morning. 2 hours ago to be precise. Carlo's voice was gentle. Too gentle. Like he knew exactly how much this was destroying her. "He was using you, Camilla. Your father's construction company has contracts Marco's family needs. The marriage was a business transaction. Once the papers were signed, he'd have everything he wanted. And you'd have nothing but a husband who couldn't even pretend to be faithful on his wedding day." The room tilted. Camilla's hand shot out, gripping the edge of the vanity to keep herself upright. "This can't be real. Marco would never. We've been planning this for months. He said he loved me. He lied." Carlo pocketed the phone. "Men like Marco Vitali are good at that. They're good at finding women like you, beautiful, kind, from families with something they want, and making them believe in fairy tales." "Women like me?" Anger sparked through the shock. "You don't know anything about me." "Don't I?" He took a step closer. Camilla wanted to back away but found herself frozen. "You're 26 years old. You work as a grant writer for the Belmont Children's Foundation. Every Tuesday, you volunteer at St. Catherine's Hospital in the pediatric ward. You take your coffee black with 1 sugar. You're allergic to shellfish. Your favorite color is deep blue, like the ocean at midnight. You're afraid of being abandoned because your mother left when you were 12, and you've spent your entire life trying to be perfect enough that no one else will leave you." The world stopped. Camilla stared at him, heart pounding, mind reeling. "How do you know that? How could you possibly?" "Because I've been watching you." No shame. No apology. Just brutal honesty. "For 3 months. Since the moment I saw you at the Riverside Charity Gala." "That's..." Her voice broke. "That's insane. That's stalking." "Yes." He didn't move. Didn't try to defend himself. "It is. You're a criminal. A killer." "Yes. I should be terrified of you." "You should be." "Then why..." Tears burned her eyes and she hated herself for it. Hated that this stranger had torn her carefully constructed life apart in 5 minutes. Hated that part of her, a dark, traitorous part, felt relieved. "Why aren't I?" Carlo's expression shifted. For just a moment the mask cracked and she saw something raw underneath. Something that looked like hunger and need and a loneliness so profound it made her chest ache. "I don't know," he said quietly. "But I'm glad." A phone buzzed. Is not hers. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen and his jaw tightened. "Your father is looking for you. You have 10 minutes before someone comes to check on you." Camilla's mind raced. Marco was gone. Her wedding, her future, everything she'd planned was a lie. And this man, this dangerous, terrifying man, had known. Had watched. Had waited until the last possible moment to tell her. Why? She whispered. Why tell me now? Why not let me marry him and figure it out later? Carlo stepped closer. Close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in all that darkness. Because, he said, voice low and rough, the thought of you binding yourself to a man who doesn't deserve you, who could never appreciate what he has, who would break you piece by piece until there's nothing left. His hand lifted, almost touching her face, then dropped. I couldn't allow it. You don't even know me. I know enough. His gaze held hers. I know you deserve more than Marco Vitali could ever give you. I know you're stronger than you think. I know that when you smile, really smile, not the polite version you give to strangers, it's like watching the sun break through clouds. Her breath caught. This is crazy. I know. I should tell you to leave. To never come near me again. You should. But she swallowed hard. I need to know. Is he really gone? Marco? Yes. Where? Somewhere he can't hurt you. That's all you need to know. Terror and relief twisted together in her chest. What happens now? Now, Carlo said, you make a choice. You can walk down those stairs, tell your guests the wedding is postponed, deal with the fallout, and go back to your life. I'll make sure Marco's family doesn't retaliate. You'll be safe. Or... His eyes darkened. Or you come with me. Come with you where? Somewhere safe. Somewhere I can protect you while I handle the consequences of today. Marco's family won't take this well. Your father's business will be threatened. There will be complications. And if I go with you, then you'll be under my protection. No one will touch you. No one will even think about touching you. He paused. But you need to understand, if you leave with me right now in that dress in front of all those people, there's no going back. Everyone will know you chose me over Marco. Over your old life. The rumors will start. The talk. Your reputation will be destroyed, she finished. Yes. Camilla looked at herself in the mirror. White dress. Perfect makeup. Hair arranged in elegant curls. She looked like a bride. Like someone's future wife. But when she looked at her own eyes, she saw the truth. She'd never felt less like herself in her entire life. If I go with you, she said slowly, what do you want from me? Nothing you're not willing to give. That's not an answer. Carlo was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want time. Time for you to see that Marco was wrong for you. Time for you to heal. Time for you to decide what you really want. His voice dropped. And if, at the end of that time, you want to walk away from me, I'll let you go. Just like that. Just like that. She studied his face, searching for the lie. But there was nothing. Just that same brutal honesty that had defined every word he'd spoken since walking into this room. Why me? She whispered. Out of everyone in this city, why me? He reached out slowly enough that she could have pulled away. His fingers brushed her cheek so gentle it made her heart ache. Because when I saw you, he said quietly, everything else stopped mattering. The escape, 2:15 p.m. Camilla's hands shook as she gathered the train of her dress. How do we get out? The hallway will be full of guests. My father. There's a service exit. Down the back stairs. Carlo moved to the door, listened for a moment, then unlocked it. Stay close to me. Don't speak. Don't look at anyone. This is insane. I'm wearing a wedding dress. People will. Let them. He looked back at her, and something in his expression made her breath catch. Pride. Possession. Let them see that you're mine now. I'm not. Not yet. He extended his hand. But you will be. She should have argued. Should have told him he was arrogant and presumptuous and completely out of his mind. Instead, she placed her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm and strong, and Camilla felt something shift. Something fundamental. Like a door closing on one life and opening on another. Carlo led her into the hallway. Empty for the moment, but she could hear voices from the main staircase. The wedding guest. Her family. Everyone waiting for her to walk down that aisle. They moved quickly, her heels clicking on the marble floor, the dress rustling around her legs. Carlo navigated the hotel like he owned it. Probably because he did in some sense. Men like him owned everything. They reached the service stairs. Carlo pushed through the door, checking the stairwell before pulling her inside. Down one floor. Then another. The sound of the wedding faded, replaced by the industrial hum of hotel machinery. At the ground floor, Carlo stopped. Wait here. Where are you? 30 seconds. He disappeared through the door. Camilla stood alone in the stairwell, heart pounding, mind spinning. She could still go back. Run up those stairs, burst into the ballroom, tell everyone it was a mistake, that she'd had cold feet but she was fine now, everything was fine. But the thought made her feel sick. The door opened. Carlo returned, followed by a man in a black suit who didn't even blink at the sight of her wedding dress. Car's ready, boss. Good. Carlo turned to her. One more hallway. Then you're safe. Safe. The word was laughable. She was running away from her own wedding with a mafia boss. Nothing about this was safe. But when she looked at Carlo, at the intensity in his eyes, the absolute certainty in his expression, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. She felt alive. They moved through the service corridor, past confused hotel staff who wisely kept their mouths shut when they saw Carlo. Through a delivery entrance. Into the bright afternoon sunlight. A black SUV waited, engine running, windows tinted so dark she couldn't see inside. Carlo opened the back door. Get in. Camilla hesitated, one hand on the door frame. This was it. The point of no return. Behind her she heard shouts. Someone had noticed her absence. Someone was looking. She climbed into the SUV. Carlo slid in beside her and the door closed. The vehicle pulled away from the hotel smoothly, professionally, like this was a perfectly normal afternoon. Camilla stared out the window, watching the Grand Celestine disappear behind them. Watching her old life fade into the distance. Breathe, Carlo said quietly. She realized she'd been holding her breath. She exhaled shakily and to her horror tears spilled down her cheeks. Hey. His voice was gentle. You're safe. I promise. I just ran away from my own wedding. The words came out choked. I left my father standing there. My friends. Everyone will think I'm insane. They'll think Marco was an idiot for losing you. Which he is. Despite everything, a laugh bubbled up through the tears. This is the craziest thing I've ever done. Good. She felt his gaze on her. You were dying in that life, Camilla. Fully. Quietly. I could see it in your eyes at that gala. You smiled, but you weren't happy. How could you possibly know that? Because I know what it looks like when someone's drowning. He was quiet for a moment. I've been drowning my entire life. Until I saw you. She turned to look at him. Really look. Not the monster. Not the legend. Just the man sitting beside her, watching her like she was something precious and breakable and worth protecting. What happens now? She whispered. Now, Carlo said, I take you somewhere safe. I deal with Marco and his family. And I give you time to figure out what you want. And if what I want is to go home? Pain flashed across his face so quick she almost missed it. Then I take you home. The SUV drove through the city, taking turns she didn't recognize, heading toward a part of town she'd never been to. Expensive. Exclusive. Gates and security and mansions set back from the road. They turned down a private drive. Through massive iron gates that opened automatically. Up a winding road lined with trees. And then she saw it. The estate was enormous. Stone and glass and elegant architecture that looked like something out of a European film. Gardens stretched in every direction, immaculately maintained. A fountain sparkled in the late afternoon sun. This is your home. Camilla breathed. One of them. The SUV stopped at the front entrance. Carlo got out first, then offered his hand to help her. Her dress caught on the door and he carefully untangled it, his touch reverent. Welcome, he said quietly, to your sanctuary. The estate. 3 p.m. The interior of Carlo's home was breathtaking. Marble floors polished to a mirror shine. High ceilings with intricate molding. Art that she was fairly certain belonged in museums. But it felt empty. Like a showroom. Beautiful but unlived in. I'll have someone prepare a room for you, Carlo said, leading her through the foyer. Anything you need, clothes, food, whatever, just ask. I can't stay here in a wedding dress. No. He stopped, turned to face her. I'll have my assistant contact some designers. They'll bring options this evening. Carlo, I can't afford. I can. His tone left no room for argument. And I will. Consider it, Compensation for the inconvenience. Inconvenience. Hysteria bubbled up. You kidnapped me from my wedding. I rescued you from a mistake. That's not. She stopped. Took a breath. I need to call my father. He'll be worried sick. Carlo pulled out a phone, her phone she realized with a start. I had one of my men retrieve this from the bridal suite. And yes, you should call your father. But Camilla. His expression grew serious. He's going to be angry. Probably furious. And he's going to demand you come home immediately. I know. What will you tell him? She stared at the phone in his hand. What would she tell him? That she'd run away with a known criminal? That she'd chosen a man she'd known for less than an hour over the son-in-law her father had been so proud to gain? The truth, she said finally. That Marco was cheating. That the wedding was a lie. That I needed to leave. And me. I'll tell him you helped me. That's all. Carlo handed her the phone. I'll give you privacy. The library is through those doors. He gestured to a set of double doors off the main hallway. Take as long as you need. She watched him walk away, his footsteps echoing on the marble. Then she looked down at her phone. 43 missed calls. 67 text messages. Her heart sank. She walked into the library. Another stunning room, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, leather furniture, windows overlooking the gardens, and called her father. He answered before the first ring finished. Camilla. Where the hell are you? What happened? Everyone is. Papa, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Tears threatened again. I couldn't do it. He wasn't who I thought he was. What are you talking about? Marco is here, he's been looking for you, he says. He's lying, Papa. He's been cheating on me. For weeks. Maybe longer. She took a shaky breath. Someone showed me proof. Photos. I couldn't marry him knowing that. Silence. Then, who showed you these photos? A friend. Camilla, what friend? Where are you? I'm somewhere safe. I just need a few days to process everything. Please, Papa. Trust me. Come home. Right now. We'll sort this out as a family. I can't. Not yet. Camilla. I love you, Papa. But I need you to trust me. I'll call you tomorrow. She hung up before he could argue further. Turned off the phone. And sank onto one of the leather sofas, the white dress pooling around her like a cloud. What had she done? Later that evening. A knock on the library door made Camilla look up. She'd been sitting there for hours watching the sun set over the gardens, trying to make sense of the day. Come in. Carlo entered carrying a tray. The smell of food made her stomach growl. She realized she hadn't eaten since breakfast. I thought you might be hungry, he said, setting the tray on the coffee table. Pasta with fresh tomatoes and basil. Bread still warm from the oven. A glass of red wine. Thank you. He stared at the food. You didn't have to do this. I wanted to. He sat in the chair across from her, not the sofa. Maintaining distance. How did your father take it? About as well as expected. He wants me to come home. But you didn't. No. She looked up at him. Why are you doing this, Carlo? Really? He was quiet for a long moment, elbows resting on his knees, hands clasped. Do you believe in fate, Camilla? I don't know. Maybe. I didn't. I thought life was just a series of calculated risks and strategic moves. That if you were smart enough, ruthless enough, you could control everything. He met her gaze. And then I saw you at that gala. You were wearing a navy blue dress. Your hair was down. Marco said something, I don't even remember what, and you laughed. Really laughed. And I felt something I'd never felt before. What? Like I'd been waiting my entire life for that sound. He leaned back. I told myself it was just attraction. Physical. Nothing more. But then I couldn't stop thinking about you. I found out where you worked. Where you volunteered. The route you took home. And the more I learned, the more He stopped. Shook his head. I'm not a good man, Camilla. I've done things that would make you sick. I've hurt people. Killed people. Built an empire on blood and fear. Then why should I trust you? You shouldn't. His honesty was brutal. But I will never lie to you. I will never hide who I am or what I've done. And I will never, ever let anyone hurt you. Those are the only promises I can make. Camilla picked up the wine glass, took a sip. It was excellent. Of course it was. Everything in this house was perfect. Except the man sitting across from her, who was the furthest thing from perfect she could imagine. And yet, 3 months, she said quietly. You've been watching me for 3 months. Yes. That should terrify me. It should. But instead I keep thinking, she stopped. Swallowed. I keep thinking that in 3 months you learn more about me than Marco did in 6. You knew about my coffee. My volunteer work. Things I never told him because he never asked. Carlo's expression shifted. Hope. Dangerous, desperate hope. Eat, he said standing. Then get some rest. Tomorrow we'll figure out next steps. Carlo. He paused at the door. Thank you. For today. For telling me the truth about Marco. For. She gestured helplessly at the room, the house, the strange safety of this moment. All of this. You don't need to thank me. His voice was rough. You being here is more than I ever thought I'd have. He left before she could respond. 3 days later. Camilla had expected to feel trapped. Desperate to leave. Glad she felt peaceful. Carlo's estate was massive, which meant she could wander without constantly running into him. The gardens alone took hours to explore. The library had books she'd been wanting to read for years. There was a pool, a gym, a home theater that seated 20. And Carlo himself was unexpectedly easy to be around. He gave her space but was always nearby if she needed something. He didn't push. Didn't demand. Just existed in her orbit, patient and watchful. On the 3rd morning she found him in the garden, sitting on a stone bench beneath an arbor covered in wisteria. He was reading a book, which surprised her, and drinking espresso. Good morning, she said. He looked up and something warm flashed in his eyes. Good morning. Sleep well. Better than I have in months, actually. She sat beside him, maintaining a careful distance. What are you reading? He showed her the cover. Poetry. Neruda. I wouldn't have pegged you for a poetry fan, she admitted. Most people wouldn't. He set the book aside. My mother used to read to me when I was young. Before she died. Poetry was her favorite. I'm sorry. About your mother. It was a long time ago. He took a sip of espresso. What about you? What does Camilla De Luca do for fun when she's not planning weddings that don't happen? The joke surprised a laugh out of her. I read. Watch old movies. I used to paint but I haven't in years. Why not? I don't know. Life got busy. It seemed frivolous. Art is never frivolous. He stood. Come with me. She followed him back into the house, through corridors she hadn't explored yet, until they reached a sunlit room on the 2nd floor. Windows on 3 walls. Hardwood floors. Empty except for a single easel in the center. What is this? A room I've never known what to do with. He walked to the windows. But it has good light. And space. And if you wanted to paint again. He trailed off. Shrugged. It's yours. Camilla's throat tightened. Carlo, I can't. Yes, you can. He turned to face her. You're not a prisoner here, Camilla. This is your home for as long as you want it to be. Which means you should have a space that's yours. Where you can do something that makes you happy. Why? The word came out choked. Why do you care if I'm happy? He crossed to her slowly. Stopped close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. Close enough that she caught his scent. Expensive cologne and something darker. Teeter maybe. Smoke. Because, he said quietly, your happiness matters more to me than anything else in this world. Her heart hammered. You barely know me. Then let me know you. His hand lifted, hesitated, then gently tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. The touch was featherlight. Reverent. Let me learn everything. Your favorite movies. The books that make you cry. What you dream about at 3 in the morning. Let me know you, Camilla. Really know you. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The intensity in his gaze was overwhelming. And if I do, she whispered. If I let you in, what happens then? Then I spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it. For a long moment they stood there. Not touching. Barely breathing. The air between them crackling with something dangerous and inevitable. Then Camilla's phone buzzed in her pocket. The spell broke. She stepped back, pulled out her phone. A text from her father. Please come home. We need to talk. I'm worried about you. Guilt crashed over her. I should, she cleared her throat. I should call him back. He's been so worried. Of course. Carlo moved toward the door, giving her space. Take your time. I'll be in my office if you need me. He left her alone in the sun-filled room, and Camilla sank to the floor, back against the wall, phone clutched in her hands. What was she doing? 3 days ago she'd been about to marry Marco. Her life had been planned out, predictable, safe. Now she was living with a mafia boss who looked at her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his entire life. And the terrifying part? She was starting to like it here. 1 week later. The routine became comfortable. Breakfast in the garden if the weather was nice. Afternoons in her new studio, where Carlo had somehow procured professional-grade paints, brushes, canvases. Evenings in the library or the living room, sometimes talking, sometimes sitting in companionable silence. Carlo told her about his work in vague terms. Nothing incriminating, but enough that she understood the scope of his power. The businesses he controlled. The people who owed him favors. The delicate balance of respect and fear that kept his world running. She told him about her life. Her mother's abandonment. Her father's well-meaning pressure to be perfect. The loneliness of always feeling like she wasn't quite enough. "You're more than enough," Carlo had said quietly when she'd confessed that fear. "You're extraordinary." And the way he'd looked at her when he said it, like he meant every word, had made her chest ache. But it wasn't all easy. There were moments when she caught glimpses of his darkness. A phone call where his voice went cold and lethal. A visitor who left his office looking pale and shaken. Reminders that this man, this patient, thoughtful man who brought her coffee every morning and asked about her paintings, was also capable of terrible things. She should have been afraid. She wasn't. Friday night. The charity event. "You don't have to go," Carlo said for the 3rd time. Camilla adjusted her earrings, studying herself in the mirror. The dress was stunning. Emerald green silk that hugged her curves, with a neckline that was elegant but daring. Carlo's assistant had brought it, along with shoes and jewelry that probably cost more than her car. "I want to," she said. "You said it's an important event. For the children's hospital. I used to volunteer there, remember? I remember everything you've ever told me." He appeared in the mirror behind her, wearing a tuxedo that should have been illegal. "But people will talk, Camilla. They'll see you with me. The rumors will start. Let them." She turned to face him. "I'm tired of hiding." Something dark and possessive flashed in his eyes. "You're sure?" "I'm sure." The charity gala was being held at the Museum of Natural History, the same venue where she'd first caught Carlo's attention months ago. The irony wasn't lost on her. They arrived in a sleek black car, and the moment they stepped out, cameras flashed. Reporters called questions. The city's elite turned to stare. Camilla felt Carlo's hand settle on her lower back, warm and grounding. "Breathe," he murmured. "I've got you." They walked inside together, and the whispers started immediately. "That's Camilla De Luca. She was supposed to marry Marco Vitali. Is that Don Ferrante? With her? I heard she ran away from her wedding. With him. Scandalous." Camilla kept her head high, her hand resting lightly on Carlo's arm. He introduced her to various people. Business associates, politicians, socialites, and none of them dared say anything inappropriate. Not with Carlo's dark gaze promising consequences. An hour in, Camilla excused herself to the ladies' room. When she emerged, a man was waiting in the hallway. Handsome. Well-dressed. Smile too bright. "Camilla De Luca," he said smoothly. "I've been hoping to run into you." "I'm sorry, have we met?" "David Chin. I work with your father occasionally." He extended his hand. He shook it politely. "I have to say you look absolutely stunning tonight. That dress is... wow." "Thank you. Can I get you a drink?" "I'd love to hear more about your work at the Children's Foundation." "I'm actually here with someone." "Don Ferrante, right?" His smile didn't waver. "I'm sure he won't mind if I steal you for one drink. He's a reasonable man." Camilla doubted that very much. "Actually," a familiar voice said from behind her, "I do mind." She turned. Carlos stood there, perfectly composed, but there was something lethal in his stillness. "Mr. Ferrante," David said, smile faltering. "I was just flirting with my companion." Carlo moved to stand beside Camilla, his hand settling possessively on her waist. "Which shows either incredible stupidity or a death wish." David paled. I didn't mean any disrespect. I was just being friendly. No. Carlo's voice was soft. Dangerous. You were testing boundaries. Seeing if you could take something that belongs to me. And the answer is no. Carlo, Camilla said quietly, hand on his chest. It's fine. He didn't know. He knew. Those dark eyes never left David. Leave. No. And if I ever see you near her again, we'll have a very different conversation. David fled. Camilla turned to face Carlo. That was necessary. His jaw was tight. He was pushing. Testing. If I'd let it slide, others would try. I'm not a possession, Carlo. I know that. He cupped her face gently. But you're under my protection. Which means no one gets to look at you like that. Talk to you like that. Touch you like that. His thumb brushed her cheek. I don't share, Camilla. Not you. Never you. She should have been angry. Should have told him he was being ridiculous and possessive and completely out of line. Instead, heat pooled low in her stomach. You're jealous, she whispered. Dangerously so. Why? Because. His voice dropped. Because the thought of another man trying to take you from me makes me want to burn the world down. Because I've spent 3 months watching you from a distance, and now that I finally have you close, the idea of losing you is unbearable. Her breath caught. Carlo. I know it's too much. Too intense. Too fast. His forehead rested against hers. But I can't help it. You're in my blood now, Camilla. And I don't know how to be anything other than completely obsessed with you. The confession hung between them, raw and honest and overwhelming. Take me home, she whispered. His eyes darkened. Camilla. Take me home, Carlo. Please. The drive home. The tension in the car was suffocating. Carlo sat beside her, perfectly still, but she could feel the control he was exerting. The barely leashed desire. She'd felt it too. All night. The way his hand had lingered on her back. The possessiveness in his touch. The dark promise in his eyes. She wanted him. Not just physically, though there was that, undeniably, but deeper. She wanted to know what it felt like to be chosen by someone who saw her. Really saw her. All her flaws and fears and broken pieces, and wanted her anyway. They pulled up to the estate. Carlo helped her out of the car, his hand warm against hers. Inside, the house was quiet. Dark except for the subtle lighting that illuminated their path. They walked upstairs in silence. Stopped outside her bedroom door. Camilla. His voice was rough. If you go inside that room, I'll let you. I'll walk away. But if you ask me to stay. He swallowed hard. I won't be able to control myself. She looked up at him. This dangerous, powerful, terrifying man who'd turned her world upside down. Who'd shown her more devotion in 2 weeks than Marco had in 6 months. Who looked at her like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to the world. I don't want you to control yourself, she whispered. Something snapped. Carlo's mouth crashed onto hers and Camilla gasped into the kiss. His hands framed her face, tilting her head back, deepening the connection. She gripped his jacket, pulling him closer, needing more. He walked her backward into her room, kicking the door shut behind them. His hands slid into her hair and she felt pins scattering, her carefully styled curls tumbling free. I've wanted this, he murmured against her lips, since the moment I saw you. Then take it, she breathed. Take me. He did. And when they came together, urgent and desperate and perfect, it wasn't just physical. It was a claiming. A promise. A surrender. Afterward, he held her close, fingers tracing patterns on her bare shoulder. I love you, he said quietly into the darkness. Camilla's heart stopped. Started again. Faster. Carlo. You don't have to say it back. I just need you to know. He pressed a kiss to her temple. I love you, Camilla. Completely. Irrevocably. In a way that probably isn't healthy but is the only way I know how. Tears pricked her eyes. Shoo. He pulled her closer. It's okay. Just, let me hold you. She settled against his chest, listening to his heartbeat, feeling the rise and fall of his breathing. And she realized something terrifying. She was falling for him too. Maybe had been since that first moment in the bridal suite, when he'd looked at her like she was something precious and worth saving. Carlo, she whispered. I think I'm falling in love with you too. His arms tightened around her. You think? I know. She tilted her head back to look at him. I know I am. And it terrifies me. Why? Because men like you, powerful, intense men, they always leave eventually. And I don't know if I could survive losing you. He cupped her face, his expression fierce. I'm not going anywhere, little wolf. Ever. You're stuck with me now. She smiled through the tears. Little wolf. You try to be soft. Safe. But I see the strength underneath. The fire. He kissed her softly. My little wolf. She kissed him back, pouring everything she felt into it. All her fear and hope and desperate, terrifying love. When they finally broke apart, she settled back against his chest. What happens now? She whispered. Now, Carlo said, we figure out how to build a life together. In your world. In ours. And for the first time since her wedding day, Camilla felt like she could breathe. But love isn't always enough. 2 days later, Monday morning, Camilla woke to an empty bed. She found a note on the pillow. Meeting. Back by lunch. She smiled, stretched, and went to take a shower. An hour later, dressed in jeans and a simple sweater, she headed downstairs for coffee. Carlo's housekeeper, Rosa, greeted her warmly and prepared breakfast. As she ate, her phone rang. Her father. She'd been avoiding him for 2 weeks. Guilt gnawed at her. She answered. Papa. Camilla. His voice was strained. Please. Come home. We need to talk. Face to face. Papa, Please, sweetheart. I'm your father. Whatever is happening, whatever you've gotten yourself into, we can fix it. Together. Her chest ached. I'm not in trouble, Papa. Okay. Actually, I'm happy. With him. With Carlo Ferrante. Anger bled through. Do you have any idea what people are saying? What this is doing to our family's reputation? Marco's family is demanding answers. They're threatening to pull out of all our business deals. Marco was cheating on me. The words burst out. He never loved me. He was using me to get to you. To your business. Silence. Then, even if that's true, and I'm not saying it is, running into the arms of a man like Ferrante is worse. He's a criminal, Camilla. A killer. His world is violence and death, and he's shown me more respect in 2 weeks than Marco did in 6 months. Tears burned her eyes. He sees me, Papa. Really sees me. Not just the perfect daughter you wanted me to be. Not just a business opportunity. Me. Camilla. I love him. The words felt right. True. I know it's fast. I know it's crazy. But I do. And I'm not coming home. Not yet. She hung up before he could argue. And immediately felt sick. Carlo returned an hour later, found her in the garden, staring at nothing. Hey. He sat beside her on the bench. What's wrong? My father called. He's furious. And hurt. And she swallowed hard. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm being selfish. Throwing away my relationship with my family for what? Carlo's voice was gentle. For you. He was quiet for a moment. Then, do you want to go back? To your old life? No. But I don't want to lose my father either. Then we'll fix it. He took her hand. Give him time. Let him see that I'm serious about you. That I'll protect you. He stopped. Started again. That I love you more than anything in this world. She looked at him. You'd really walk away from your empire? For me. In a heartbeat. I don't want you to do that. Then what do you want? I want both, she whispered. I want you. And I want my family. And I don't know if I can have both. Carlo pulled her into his arms and she buried her face in his chest. We'll figure it out, he murmured. Together. I promise. But even as he held her, Camilla felt the shadow of doubt creeping in. Could love really be enough to bridge the gap between her two worlds? Or would she have to choose? 1 week later. The cracks began to show. Camilla stood in front of her easel, brush hovering over canvas, but the image wouldn't come. Her mind was too cluttered. Too loud. A week had passed since her father's call. He'd tried twice more but she hadn't answered. The guilt was eating her alive. Carlo had been patient. Understanding. But she could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw tightened when her phone rang and she flinched. They were living in a bubble. A beautiful, perfect bubble. And Camilla was terrified of what would happen when it burst. You're thinking too hard. She turned. Carlo leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching her with that intense gaze that still made her heart skip. I can't seem to focus today, she admitted. He crossed to her, took the brush gently from her hand, set it down. Talk to me. I don't want to burden you with. Camilla. He tilted her chin up. Nothing about you is a burden. Tell me what's wrong. She took a shaky breath. I miss my father, my sister, my old life in some ways. And I feel guilty for being happy here with you when they're hurting. Do you regret leaving? No. But. She searched for the right words. I feel like I'm living in two worlds that can never touch. And eventually I'm going to have to choose one. Pain flashed across his face. And you think you'll choose them? I don't know what I'll choose. That's what scares me. Carlo was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone, made a call. What are you? He held up a finger. Antonio? Set up a meeting with Vincent DeLuca. This week. At his convenience. Pause. Tell him I want to discuss his daughter's future. Properly. Another pause. Good. He hung up. Camilla stared. Did you just call my father? You miss him. He's angry because he thinks I'm taking advantage of you. So we'll sit down, the three of us, and have an honest conversation. Carlo Hill. What? Try to take you away from me? His expression hardened. He can try. But you're not property, Camilla. You're a woman who makes her own choices. And if you choose to be with me, he'll have to accept that. Just like I'll have to accept it if you choose to leave. Her throat tightened. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. Not easy. But simple. He cupped her face. I love you. You love me. Everything else we figure out together. She wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe love could be that straightforward. But the knot in her stomach told her differently. 3 days later. The meeting. Camilla's hands shook as she smoothed down her dress. Navy blue, professional, modest, the kind of thing her father would approve of. She was meeting him for lunch at Marcello's, an upscale Italian restaurant Carlo owned. Neutral territory, but with enough of Carlo's presence that her father would understand the seriousness of the situation. Carlo had offered to come, but she'd asked for this first meeting to be alone. Father and daughter. She needed to try to bridge this gap herself first. Vincent DeLuca was already seated when she arrived. He looked older than she remembered, more gray in his hair, deeper lines around his eyes. He stood when he saw her. Camilla. Papa. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then he opened his arms and she fell into them, tears spilling over. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry for worrying you. Shoo. He held her tight. You're here now. That's what matters. They sat. Ordered. Made awkward small talk until the waiter left. Then her father's expression turned serious. Are you safe, Camilla? Really safe? Yes, Papa. I promise. And Ferrante, he's treating you well? Better than well. She twisted her napkin. He's nothing like what I expected. He's patient and kind and protective. He listens to me. He sees me as more than just. She stopped. More than what? More than just the perfect daughter who does what she's told. Her father flinched. Is that what you think? That I only valued you when you were obedient? Didn't you? The words came out sharper than she intended. You pushed me toward Marco because he was good for business. You wanted me to be the perfect wife, the perfect hostess, the perfect representation of our family name. I wanted you to be secure, he said quietly. Safe. Protected. After your mother left. His voice cracked. I couldn't bear the thought of you struggling. Of you being hurt. Tears burned her eyes. I know, Papa. But I was suffocating. And Marco, he never cared about me. Not really. Carlo showed me proof. Photos. Marco had been cheating for weeks. Her father's jaw tightened. I didn't know. I swear if I had known. I know you didn't. But Carlo did. And he stopped me from making the biggest mistake of my life. By kidnapping you from your own wedding? By giving me a choice. She reached across the table, took her father's hand. For the first time in my life, someone gave me a real choice. Not a suggestion. Not a gentle push toward what was best for me. An actual choice. And I chose him. Vincent was quiet for a long time. Then, do you love him? Yes. And he loves you? He says he does. And I believe him. Camilla, men like Ferrante, their world is dangerous. Violent. I've seen what happens to people who cross him. What happens to the women in their lives. I know what he is, Papa. I'm not naive. She squeezed his hand. But I also know what he is with me. And that's the man I fell in love with. Her father studied her face. Then he sighed, looking every one of his 62 years. I can't stop you. You're a grown woman. But I need to know, if things go wrong, if you need help, will you call me? Always. And this meeting he wants, with both of us, what is that about? I think. He swallowed. I think he wants your blessing. Or at least your acceptance. He knows how important you are to me. He wants to marry you. It wasn't a question. Camilla's heart skipped. He hasn't asked. But, maybe. Someday. Her father was quiet. Then, bring him to dinner. Sunday. At the house. Let me talk to him properly. Man to man. Hope bloomed in her chest. Really? I'm not promising anything, he warned. But if you love him and he loves you, then I need to know what kind of man he really is. Not the rumors. Not the reputation. Him. She stood, rounded the table, and threw her arms around him. Thank you, Papa. Thank you. He held her tight. I just want you to be happy, sweetheart. That's all I've ever wanted. That evening, Camilla practically floated into Carlo's study. He looked up from his laptop, eyebrows rising. Good meeting. The best. She rounded his desk, sat on the edge. My father wants you to come to dinner. Sunday. At the house. Carlo leaned back, studying her. That's unexpected. He wants to get to know you. Really know you. Not the Don Ferrante everyone fears. Just you. And if he doesn't like what he sees, then we'll deal with it. She took his hand. But I hope he'll see what I see. A man who's capable of incredible things. Good and bad. But who chooses to be good for the people he loves. Carlo pulled her into his lap and she settled against him, head on his shoulder. I'm not good, Camilla. I need you to understand that. I've done things, terrible things, that I can never take back. I know. And you still want this? Want me? I want you, she whispered. All of you. The light and the dark. He kissed her then, deep and slow and full of promise. Someday, he murmured against her lips. I'll be on my best behavior. You don't have to be perfect. Just be yourself. Myself might scare him away. She smiled. Then he'll have to get used to being scared. Friday night. The charity gala part 2. Carlo had another event that weekend. A fundraiser for the city's art museum. He'd asked Camilla if she wanted to attend, and despite her nervousness about facing the social elite again, she'd agreed. She wore red this time. A gown that hugged every curve, with a slit up one thigh that made Carlo's eyes darken when he saw her. You're trying to kill me, he murmured, helping her into the car. Is it working? Dangerously so. The gala was smaller than the last one, more intimate. Old money. High society. The kind of people who'd known each other for generations. The kind of people who would absolutely judge her for running away with Carlo Ferrante. They entered together and the room quieted. Just for a moment. Then the conversations resumed, but Camilla could feel the weight of every stare. Carlo's hand settled on her lower back. Ignore them. Easy for you to say. They're jealous. You're the most beautiful woman here and you chose me. That drives them insane. Despite herself, she smiled. They mingled. Carlo introduced her to various people. A senator, a judge, a tech mogul who'd just sold his company for billions. All of them treated her with careful politeness and Carlo with wary respect. An hour in, Camilla excused herself to get some air. The balcony overlooking the museum's sculpture garden was empty, quiet. She breathed in the cool night air, trying to settle her nerves. Camilla De Luca. She turned. A woman stood behind her, late 30s, stunning in a silver dress, with the kind of confidence that came from old money and older power. I'm sorry, have we met? Sophia Marchetti. The woman extended her hand. Camilla shook it. I'm an old friend of Carlo's. Something in the way she said friend made Camilla's stomach clench. It's nice to meet you. I have to say I was surprised to hear Carlo was seeing someone. He's always been so guarded about his personal life. Sophia leaned against the balcony railing. How long have you two been together? A few weeks. A few weeks. Sophia's eyebrows rose. And he brought you to this? Carlo never brings anyone to these events. I should know, we dated for 3 years. The words hit like a slap. I didn't know Carlo had. Oh, it was years ago. Before he became, well, what he is now. Sophia's smile was sharp. But we remained close. Very close. In fact, we had dinner just last month. Camilla's heart sank. Did you? He didn't mention it. Sophia tilted her head. How interesting. I wonder what else he hasn't mentioned. Before Camilla could respond, Carlo appeared in the doorway. Sophia. His voice was cold. I didn't realize you were on the guest list. Darling, I'm always on the guest list. Sophia pushed off the railing. I was just getting to know your new companion. She's lovely. Very different from your usual type. Sophia. Don't worry, I didn't say anything inappropriate. She smiled at Camilla. Did I? Camilla's throat was tight. No. It was nice meeting you. Sophia swept past Carlo, pausing to whisper something Camilla couldn't hear. Then she was gone. Carlo crossed to Camilla immediately. Whatever she said. You had dinner with her last month? He sighed. It was a business dinner. Nothing more. You didn't think to mention it? Because it didn't matter. She doesn't matter. She was your girlfriend for 3 years, Carlo. That matters. Was. Past tense. He took her hands. Camilla, look at me. Sophia and I ended years ago. We occasionally have to interact because of business, but there's nothing between us. Nothing. She implied. She implied things to make you jealous. Because that's what Sophia does. He manipulates. She plays games. His grip tightened. But I don't. I told you I would never lie to you and I meant it. If you want to know about my past, about every woman I've ever been with, I'll tell you. But you need to believe me when I say, you're the only one who matters. The only one who's ever mattered like this. Camilla wanted to believe him. But doubt had crept in, cold and insidious. I need some air. Alone. Camilla. Please, Carlo. Just, give me a minute. He released her hands, jaw tight, pain clear in his eyes. But he stepped back. I'll be inside. When you're ready. He left her alone on the balcony, and Camilla wrapped her arms around herself, fighting tears. This was what her father had warned her about. The complications. The jealousy. The way Carlo's past would always be lurking in the shadows. Could she really handle this life? The drive home, silent tension. The car ride back to the estate was suffocatingly quiet. Carlo sat rigid beside her, staring out the window, jaw clenched. Camilla felt the distance between them like a physical ache. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. I'm sorry, she whispered. He turned to look at her. For what? For doubting you. For letting her get in my head. You have nothing to apologize for. His voice was rough. Sophia was cruel. She knew exactly what she was doing. But I should have trusted you. You barely know me, Camilla. Not really. We've been together for 3 weeks. It makes sense that you'd have doubts. I don't want doubts. I want, she stopped, swallowed hard. I want to believe this is real. That what we have can survive your past and my insecurities and all the people who want to tear us apart. Carlo reached over, took her hand. It is real. What I feel for you, it's the most real thing in my life. Even more real than what you felt for Sophia? I never loved Sophia. Not really. What we had was convenient. Comfortable. But it wasn't love. He brought her hand to his lips. Not like this. Not like what I feel when I look at you and realize I'd burn the entire world down just to see you smile. Tears spilled down her cheeks. That's a lot of pressure. I know. He smiled slightly. But you handle pressure well, little wolf. She laughed through the tears. I'm handling it terribly. No. You're handling it like someone who's scared of getting hurt. Which makes sense. Because I'm terrifying. And my world is complicated. And there are probably a dozen more Sophias waiting to make you doubt yourself. That's not reassuring. I'm not trying to reassure you. I'm trying to be honest. He cupped her face. This won't be easy, Camilla. There will be challenges. Jealousy. Complications. But if you can trust me, really trust me, I promise I will never give you a reason to doubt my love for you. She leaned into his touch. I do trust you. It's just hard. I know. He kissed her forehead. But we'll figure it out. Together. The car pulled up to the estate and they went inside. The tension had eased, but something had shifted. Camilla realized with sudden clarity. Love wasn't enough on its own. They needed trust, communication, commitment. And she needed to decide if she was truly ready for the complications that came with loving a man like Carlo Ferrante. Sunday. The family dinner. Camilla changed outfits 3 times before settling on a simple cream sweater and dark slacks. Elegant but not trying too hard. Carlo wore a navy suit, no tie, top button undone. He looked devastatingly handsome and slightly nervous. "You're sure about this?" he asked for the 3rd time. "I'm sure." He straightened his collar. "My father just wants to know you're serious about me. I'm serious enough to marry you tomorrow if you'd let me." Her heart stopped. "Carlo. I'm not proposing. Not yet." He caught her hand. "But I want you to know, that's where this is heading. For me. The future. Marriage. Everything. We've only been together 3 weeks. I've loved you for 3 months. And I'll love you for the rest of my life." He kissed her knuckles. "Whenever you're ready." The drive to her father's house took 20 minutes. Camilla's childhood home looked exactly the same. Brick colonial manicured lawn, the same oak tree she'd climbed as a girl. Her sister Sophia opened the door, eyes widening when she saw Carlo. "Holy," she caught herself. "Hi. You must be Carlo." "I'm Sophia. Nice to meet you." Carlo's smile was genuine. "Camilla's told me a lot about you." "All lies, I'm sure." Sophia hugged Camilla tight, whispering, "He's even more gorgeous in person. How are you not spontaneously combusting?" Camilla laughed. "Practice." Inside, the house smelled like her father's famous Sunday sauce. Garlic, tomatoes, basil. Vincent appeared from the kitchen, wiping his hands on a towel. "Camilla. Mr. Ferrante. Please call me Carlo." The 2 men shook hands, sizing each other up. Camilla held her breath. "Dinner will be ready in 20 minutes, her father said. "Carlo, would you join me in my study? I'd like to talk." "Of course." Camilla watched them disappear down the hallway, anxiety twisting her stomach. Sophia grabbed her arm. "Oh my God, tell me everything. How did this happen? Is he as dangerous as everyone says? Are you safe? Are you happy?" "Yes to the last 2. The rest is complicated." "Complicated good or complicated bad?" "Both." Camilla sank onto the living room couch. "I love him, Sophia. Really love him. But his world is so different from ours. And people keep warning me about him. And I keep wondering if I'm making a huge mistake." "Are you?" "I don't think so. But I don't know for sure." Sophia sat beside her. "Can I give you some big sister advice?" "Always. Stop trying to logic your way through this. You've spent your whole life trying to make the right choice. The safe choice. The choice everyone else wanted for you. And look where it got you, almost married to a cheater." She took Camilla's hand. "Carlo might be dangerous. His world might be complicated. But from the way he looked at you when you walked in, that man would die for you. And honestly, that's more than most people ever get." Tears pricked Camilla's eyes. "When did you get so wise?" "I've always been wise. You just never listened." The study, father and suitor. Vincent gestured to one of the leather chairs. Carlo sat, perfectly composed, hands relaxed on the armrests. "Drink?" Vincent asked. "No thank you." Vincent poured himself a scotch. Took a sip. Studied the younger man. "You know why I asked you here? You want to know if I'm good enough for your daughter. The answer is no. I'm not. But I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be." Vincent blinked, clearly not expecting such blunt honesty. "I know who you are, Ferrante. What you do. The empire you've built." He leaned against his desk. "And I know that men like you, men with power, they take what they want and destroy anyone who gets in their way. That's true. I have. Many times." Carlo's gaze didn't waver. "But not with Camilla. Never with Camilla. What makes her different?" "Everything." Carlo leaned forward. "Mr. De Luca, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a good man. I've hurt people. Killed people. Built my fortune on things that would make you sick. But your daughter." His voice roughened. "She's the one purely good thing in my life. And I will protect her with everything I have. From my enemies. From anyone who tries to hurt her. Even from myself if necessary. And if she wants to leave you? Pain flashed across Carlo's face. Then I let her go. Just like that. Just like that. Vincent studied him for a long moment. You love her. More than I thought it was possible to love anyone. And you'll marry her? Make it official? Give her the security and respect she deserves. The moment she says yes. What about children? A family. If she wants them, I'll give her as many as she wants. If she doesn't, that's fine too. This is about her happiness. Not mine. Vincent drained his scotch. Set down the glass. I can't say I approve of your lifestyle, Ferrante. I can't say I'm happy about this situation. But, he sighed. My daughter is happier than I've seen her in years. And if you're the reason for that, then I won't stand in your way. Carlos stood, extended his hand. Thank you, sir. That means more than you know. Vincent shook it. Hurt her and I don't care how powerful you are. I'll find a way to make you pay. I'd expect nothing less. Dinner. A new beginning. Dinner was surprisingly easy. Sophia kept the conversation flowing with funny stories about Camilla's childhood. Vincent asked Carlo about his legitimate businesses. Real estate, construction, import, export. Carlo answered honestly, while carefully avoiding the less legal aspects of his empire. And Camilla watched it all with a fullness in her chest that felt like hope. Her two worlds sitting at the same table. Not perfectly blended, but coexisting. It was more than she dared to dream. After dessert, as they prepared to leave, Vincent pulled Camilla aside. He's not what I would have chosen for you, he said quietly. But I can see he makes you happy. And that's what matters. Thank you, Papa. She hugged him tight. That's all I needed to hear. On the drive home, Carlo was quiet. Punted. That went well, Camilla said. Better than I expected. He glanced at her. Your father loves you very much. And you just promised to marry me in front of him. So, no pressure. Carlo pulled the car over. Right there on the side of the road. Put it in park. Turned to face her. Camilla De Luca. Her heart hammered. Carlo, what are you? He pulled a small box from his jacket pocket. Her breath stopped. I wasn't planning to do this tonight, he said. I was going to wait. Be patient. Give you more time. But sitting at that table with your family, I realized something. He opened the box, revealing a stunning diamond ring. Vintage, elegant, perfect. I don't want to wait. I don't want to give you more time to talk yourself out of this. I want you to be mine. Officially. Completely. Forever. Tears streamed down her face. Will you marry me, little wolf? She should have hesitated. Should have asked for time. They'd only been together 3 weeks. It was too fast, too intense, too crazy. But when she looked at him, she saw her future. Complicated and challenging and absolutely certain. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He slid the ring onto her finger, then pulled her across the console into his lap, kissing her until they were both breathless. I love you, he murmured against her lips. I love you too. And for the first time in her life, Camilla felt like she was exactly where she belonged. But happiness never lasts. 2 weeks later. The threat. Camilla woke to an empty bed again. Carlo had been called away early, something about a shipment problem at the docks. She stretched, admiring the way her engagement ring caught the morning light, then got ready for the day. She was meeting Sophia for lunch and then she had a shift at the hospital volunteering. Her old life and new life finally finding balance. But when she came downstairs, she found Carlo's head of security, Antonio, waiting in the foyer. His expression was grim. Miss De Luca. We need to talk. Camilla's stomach dropped. What's wrong? Is Carlo okay? He's fine. But there's been a development. Antonio hesitated. Marco Vitali's family. They've made threats. What kind of threats? Against you. Against your father. They blame you for the broken contracts, the embarrassment. And they've decided to send a message. Fear spiked through her. What kind of message? The kind that involves making sure Carlo knows they can get to you anytime they want. Her hands shook. What does that mean? It means you don't leave this property without armed security. It means we're doubling the guards. And it means Carlo is handling it. Antonio's expression darkened. Permanently. Handling it how? You don't want to know, Miss De Luca. But she did know. She knew exactly what handling it meant in Carlo's world. Violence. Retaliation. Blood. I need to talk to him. He said you'd say that. He also said to tell you he'll be home tonight. And that you're not to worry. Not to worry? Her voice rose. People are threatening me because I chose to be with him and I'm not supposed to worry? With respect, miss, this is what it means to be with a man like Don Ferrante. There are enemies. There are threats. But there's also protection. No one will touch you. I guarantee it. But the promise felt hollow. Because Camilla was realizing something terrifying. Loving Carlo meant living in constant danger. And she wasn't sure she was strong enough for that. That night. The confession. Carlo came home late, blood on his knuckles, darkness in his eyes. Camille met him at the door. Is it done? She asked quietly. It's done. The Vitali family won't be a problem anymore. What did you do? What I had to. He moved past her, heading for his study. He followed. Carlo, talk to me. There's nothing to talk about. You were threatened. I eliminated the threat. By killing people? He stopped. Turned. The look in his eyes made her step back. Yes. By killing people. Because that's who I am, Camilla. That's what I do. I've been very clear about that from the beginning. I know, but what? You thought it was theoretical? You thought you could love the idea of me without accepting the reality? He laughed bitterly. I warned you. I told you I wasn't good. That my world was violent. You said you could handle it. I thought I could. But Carlo, you killed people. Because of me. No. I killed people because they threatened you. There's a difference. Is there? The question hung between them, sharp and painful. Carlo's expression shuddered. If you can't accept this, accept me, then maybe we made a mistake. Terror crashed through her. Don't say that. Why not? It's the truth, isn't it? You want the parts of me that are gentle. That read poetry and bring you coffee. But you don't want the parts that keep you safe. That do the ugly necessary things so you can sleep peacefully at night. That's not fair. Life isn't fair, Camilla. His voice rose. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted to be the kind of man who solves problems with violence? I was born into this world. I didn't choose it. But I've made the best of it. And I've used my power to protect the people I love. Including you. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I'm not saying I don't appreciate. Then what are you saying? I'm saying I'm scared. The admission burst out. I'm scared that loving you means living in constant danger. I'm scared that your enemies will never stop coming. I'm scared that one day you won't come home or I'll be the target or, her voice broke. I'm scared that love isn't enough to survive your world. Carlo stared at her, jaw tight, pain clear in his eyes. Then leave. She recoiled. What? If you're that scared, if you can't handle this, then leave. He pulled off her engagement ring. She hadn't even realized he'd gotten close enough to touch her, and held it out. I meant what I said. If you want to walk away, I won't stop you. Her heart shattered. Carlo. I love you, Camilla. More than I thought it was possible to love anyone. But I can't change who I am. I can't erase my past. I can't promise you a normal, safe, uncomplicated life. All I can promise is that I will love you with everything I have and protect you with everything I am. His hand trembled slightly. But if that's not enough, then you should go now. Before we're both in too deep. She stared at the ring in his palm. At the man she loved, standing there with blood on his hands and devastation in his eyes. And she realized something fundamental. He had a choice to make. Stay and accept all of him, the darkness and the light. Or leave and return to a safe, comfortable, empty life. Her hand shook as she reached out. And took the ring. Carlo's breath caught. She slid it back onto her finger. I'm not leaving. Camilla. I'm scared. I'm terrified. But I'm not leaving. She stepped closer. You're right. I knew who you were. What you were. And I chose you anyway. I don't get to cherry-pick the parts of you I like and reject the rest. You shouldn't have to accept violence. I'm not accepting violence. I'm accepting you. She cupped his face. All of you. The man who reads poetry and the man who protects what's his. The gentle and the dangerous. Because that's what love means. Not just the easy parts. All of it. He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she could barely breathe. I don't deserve you, he whispered into her hair. Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway. They stood there for a long time holding each other, the weight of the evening settling around them. Finally, Camilla pulled back enough to look at him. But Carlo, I need you to promise me something. Anything. I need you to tell me when things are dangerous. I need to be part of these decisions. Not shut out. Not protected from reality. Partners. Really partners. He studied her face. Then nodded. Partners. And one more thing. What? We're getting married. I don't want to wait. Surprise flashed across his face. Are you sure? Completely. She smiled through the tears. You said you'd marry me tomorrow if I let you. So let's do it. This week. Small ceremony. Just family. Before anything else can go wrong. Carlo laughed. A genuine joyful sound. This week. This week. He kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of promise. Thursday, he murmured. I'll arrange everything. The judge, the venue, whatever you want. I just want you. You have me. Forever. Thursday. The wedding. Camilla wore a simple white dress, tea-length, elegant, nothing like the elaborate gown she'd almost worn for Marco. The ceremony took place in Carlo's garden, beneath the wisteria arbor where they'd had their first real conversation. Her father walked her down the makeshift aisle. Sophia stood as her maid of honor. Antonio was Carlo's best man. A judge Carlo knew and probably owned, performed the ceremony. When Carlo saw her, his expression cracked, raw emotion flooding through. You're beautiful, he whispered as she reached him. You're not so bad yourself. The ceremony was short. Traditional vows with one addition. I promise, Carlo said, to love you in the light and the darkness. To be honest even when the truth is ugly. To protect you always but never cage you. And to spend every day proving that you made the right choice. Camilla's voice shook as she replied, I promise to see all of you, the gentle and the dangerous. To stand beside you as a partner, not just someone to be protected. To love you not despite your darkness, but because you trusted me enough to show it to me. And to choose you every single day for the rest of my life. There wasn't a dry eye in the garden. When the judge pronounced them husband and wife, Carlo kissed her like it was the first and last time, and the small group erupted in applause. 1 month later, forever. Life settled into a new rhythm. Camilla kept her volunteer work at the hospital. Started painting seriously again. Began to understand the intricacies of Carlo's business, both legal and not. Carlo made good on his promise to include her in decisions. To be honest about threats. To treat her as a true partner. It wasn't perfect. There were hard days. Scary moments. Times when the weight of his world felt crushing. But there were also mornings when she woke up in his arms and couldn't believe how lucky she was. And then 6 weeks after their wedding, Camilla woke up feeling nauseous. She stared at the pregnancy test, hands shaking. Positive. She found Carlo in his study working on contracts. Hi, she said from the doorway. He looked up, smiled. Hi, wife. She loved when he called her that. I need to tell you something. His expression shifted to concern. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Actually, something's very right. She crossed to him, took his hands, placed them on her still flat stomach. We're having a baby. Carlo froze. Stared at her. Then at his hands. Then back at her. We're pregnant. I'm pregnant. The joy that flooded his face was indescribable. A baby, he whispered. We're having a baby. We're having a baby. He stood, pulled her into his arms, held her like she was made of glass. I love you, he said fiercely. I love you so much. I love you too. And in that moment, Camilla knew with absolute certainty. She'd made the right choice. Not the safe choice. Not the easy choice. But the right one. Because loving Carlo Ferrante meant living dangerously. But it also meant living fully, passionately, completely. And she wouldn't trade it for anything. 6 months later. The nursery. Camilla stood in the newly finished nursery, one hand on her swollen belly, the other brushing over the hand-painted mural Sophia had helped her create. Carlo came up behind her, arms wrapping around her, hands settling over hers on her stomach. She kicked again, Camilla said softly. Strong like her mother. Or him. Either way they'll be perfect. She leaned back against him. Are you scared? Terrified. But in a good way. Me too. They stood there in comfortable silence, watching the late afternoon sun paint the walls gold. Do you ever regret it? Carlo asked quietly. Leaving Marco? Choosing this life? Never. She turned in his arms. Do you? Regret you? Impossible. He kissed her forehead. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, little wolf. Even though I'm terrifying when I'm pregnant? Especially then. She laughed, then gasped as another kick came. Carlo's hand flew to her stomach, eyes widening as he felt it. Definitely strong. Definitely ours. And as they stood there in the nursery of the home they'd built together, Camilla thought about the girl she'd been 6 months ago. Drowning in a life that didn't fit. And the woman she'd become. Brave. Certain. Living exactly the life she was meant for. All because a stranger had zipped up her wedding dress and whispered impossible words that changed everything. Your groom's not coming, little wolf. I am. And he'd kept that promise. Every single day since. The end. Epilogue. 2 years later. Little Elena Ferrante toddled through the garden, dark curls bouncing, chasing butterflies with determination that made her parents laugh. She has your stubbornness, Carlo said, watching from the bench beneath the wisteria. And your confidence, Camilla countered, cradling their 3-month-old son Marco, named not for her ex but for Carlo's late brother. Elena squealed with delight as she caught a butterfly, then immediately released it, watching it fly away. Again, she demanded. That's our girl, Camilla said. Never satisfied with just one success. Carlo pulled his wife close, kissed her temple. I love our life. Me too. Even the dangerous parts? Especially the dangerous parts. She smiled up at him. Because they led me to you. He kissed her then, soft and sweet, while Elena played and baby Marco slept and the world carried on around them. And Camilla thought about the strange, twisted path that had brought her here. A cancelled wedding. A stranger with impossible promises. 3 weeks of fear and love and choosing the life she wanted instead of the life she thought she should want. It hadn't been easy. But it had been worth it. Every terrifying, beautiful moment. Because in the end, love wasn't about safety. It was about finding the person worth being brave for. And she'd found hers. Thank you for reading this dark romance love story. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe for more emotionally intense, cinematic romance stories that prove love conquers all. Even danger, darkness, and impossible odds.